Good evening and welcome to the latest live police and community tasking meeting for Handsworth Wood. In fact, it's not the latest, it's the first. So good evening and welcome to our online audience. I'm Sergeant Simon Williams from Handsworth West Police Station, and joining me tonight is
Dave James from Handsworth Fire Station, Station Commander.
I've also got off camera, just sitting to our right, PCSO Ahmed Wahab, who's going to act as our online facilitator tonight. So Ahmed will be putting online questions that come through Twitter or have been put to us via email or from the community prior to the meeting starting. So listen out for those a little bit later on. For our online audience, you can get involved tonight using the hashtag #AskHandsworthWood, AskHWW, as you can see on the screen, via Twitter to ask a question or make a comment. Please get involved and have your say on how the area is policed and looked after by the fire service. Tonight's agenda, I'll go through what we've been prioritising for the community over the last couple of months, and then give a bit of an overview of crime and antisocial behaviour since March. The fire service will then provide their updates and key messages, and then we'll go into our questions section. So you've got 15 minutes or so, I would suggest, to get your online questions to us, if you would. And then at the end of the meeting, we'll look to set some more priorities for the coming month, and we've got some suggestions around what those may or may not need to be. And then we'll move into any other business and close the meeting down. Okay, so first of all, I'll give you an update on the priorities that we've been looking at for you over the last month or so. The first one is around prostitution on Holyhead Road at the junction of Austin Road. Earlier in the month, at the start of April, you told us that there'd been an increase in the number and frequency of females soliciting themselves for the purposes of prostitution during the evening, mainly around that particular area of the Holyhead Road. Clearly causing concern for local residents and businesses alike, and putting females in a really vulnerable position. You know, we said that we would work with our partners to try and divert, educate, and where necessary, prosecute those individuals and the people that are, you know, curb crawling, etc., and trying to deter those people by providing a visible presence. We have, during the last few weeks, targeted that particular area with patrols regularly 3 or 4 times during each set of shifts, particularly when we're on late. We've also got support from our other constituency teams, so Perry Bar and Oscott and Lazells and East Handsworth. So thank you for both to those teams for helping us there. That work will continue. We've also got a plan in place to work with the UK Human Trafficking Centre to try and divert and build our intelligence around the females that are involved in that particular issue at that location. I'm going to suggest at the end of the meeting that this is something that we keep as a priority for the community as we move forward into the next 4-week period towards the end of May. The other issue that we've been looking at for the community around Handsworth Wood is antisocial behaviour around the Avenue Road, Uplands Road, Newcombe Road area, particularly focused around St Augustine's Church at the junction of Avenue Road. As a team, we've been looking at that issue since the end of 2014. However, things have got quite bad for a couple of members of the community at that location, where up to 30, sometimes 40 young people aged between 10 and 18 have been congregating. Low-level damage has been caused to the church and a number of residents' properties, and that group have become abusive to local residents and people passing through the area. That's clearly unacceptable. So since the start of this month, we've identified who the main ringleaders are. We're working really closely with the Birmingham City Council Antisocial Behaviour team, where those individuals will be dealt with in the coming weeks, and we'll give you a bit more of an update on what we're going to do with them next time we appear live, which will be towards the end of May. And to alleviate antisocial behaviour in the area during the peak time, so the last couple of weekends, we've employed a Section 35 dispersal notice, which is utilising our new powers under the let me just get this right before I say it wrong, under the Antisocial Behaviour Crime and Policing Act 2014, and that gives the police the power for up to 48 hours to disperse any identified youths in that particular area and stop them going to or congregating within an area. That should appear on our live Twitter feed very shortly, that map. Armid's going to make that happen very shortly. So that's the update around those two particular issues. Work ongoing. We've made a really good start, but I suggest we need more time to have a look at that. Just moving now into what our current policing priorities are. We are prioritising robbery and reducing the number of robbery victims on the ward. Public place violence, particularly public place violence where injury occurs, and vehicle crime. And that includes theft of motor vehicle, but particularly theft from motor vehicle at this time of the year as well. I'll go into that in a bit more detail very shortly. I said I'd talk about some good news stories before I gave the Crime and ASB update in full. And just to give you a quick rundown, we'll post this on our Twitter page as well, on our social media sites around our neighbourhood team's activity over the last month. In February, we arrested a man in connection with a stolen vehicle from Winson Green. We found this chap in Handsworth. He remains on police bail at the moment. End of February, we also assisted the cannabis disposal team executing a warrant on Hamilton Road. That location in question had been used as a cannabis factory, so that was closed down. Really good result there. In March, we worked with our colleagues from the Handsworth Fire Service, and we held a recruitment fair in partnership with the Handsworth Wood Community Development Trust. It was a really, really good day. Lots of people came along, and we were able to signpost them around their futures, in particular around police officer recruitment, where we provided some advice and support to potential applicants. Moving into April, we had a really good arrest, probably a cop's favourite call, a burglary in progress, which means that a witness had phoned us to tell us that this type of crime was happening there. And then we responded to this really, really quickly, and the two males in question were caught leaving the scene with property and arrested. Those offenders both remain on bail at the moment, pending further inquiries. Moving further into the middle of the month, we, as I said, utilised our new powers under Section 35 of the new Antisocial Behaviour Act, where we started to deal with use more effectively around the Avenue Road area. So it's been a pretty busy couple of months for us, as well as dealing with daily business as usual. Very quickly giving you an overview on crime and ASB. So far, month to date in April, we've seen a 55% reduction in burglary, which is a really great start to the new financial year, or new policing year. We've had 4 offences so far in April, compared with 9 this time last year. So that's a really, really good start. The offences so far this month have been around Church Lane and Handsworth Wood Road area. So over to the east side of Handsworth as a ward. What's tended to happen there is front doors and rear windows have been forced open. One was a wooden window, one was a UPVC window. I think my advice there would be to, if you're going out, leave your lights on, lock your doors, make sure they're double locked, whether you've got a chain or Yale or a Chubb lock, make sure they're all being used. And if you are going out, leave your radio or television set on. Close your curtains where you need to, and make it look as though you are at home. And it's probably a good time, actually, as the warmer nights approach, to review your home security as well. There's been some really interesting findings recently that are in the early days, have been pushed out from research that's happened around the England and Wales crime survey over the last 20 years. And the initial findings in terms of keeping your home safe and secure from being victimised for burglary are that you have extra window locks on your windows, internal lights on a timer, deadlocking doors, so these new style composite doors are really, really tricky, even for us to get through when we need to, and also having external lights outside your address that are on a timer. We have a member of the public joining us. Hello, good evening, and come in. Grab a seat, guys, and feel free to ask some questions when we move into that section a little bit later on. We're just going through an update on crime and antisocial behaviour for Handsworth, so bear with us, all right? And just very quickly, just to remind you that the meeting's being broadcast online tonight as well. So it goes without saying, no bad language if you wouldn't mind. You're not on camera, but we are. So when you do ask your question, if you can speak up nice and loud, that would be lovely. Okay, thank you. And thank you very much for coming along as well. Really good to see you both. Cheers. That really summarises our burglary. In terms of robbery, I talked about that being an issue, a local policing issue for us. We've seen a 75% reduction so far this financial year in robberies. In fact, we've only had one offence on the whole of Handsworth Wood Ward so far, which is brilliant compared to 4 this time last year. Really, really good start. That particular offence this month was a shop worker who had left a premises just off the Holyhead Road. He was carrying cash and wearing some fairly expensive jewellery. I think general advice around that would be just, you know, when you're out and about, be aware of your personal surroundings. Some of the things that I see when I'm walking or travelling around Handsworth, and particularly the Rookery Road areas, I see a lot of people wearing headphones, a lot of people looking down at their mobile phone, engaging with social media as they're walking along. You're not going to be as aware of your personal space if you're doing that. Try not to be distracted by your mobile, and just be careful of what you display and how much cash you're carrying. So real common sense things, really. And that mobile phone distraction as well, particularly around road safety and crossing the road, Rookery Road, Soho Road, really busy roads. A bit of advice there. Vehicle crime, 60%, over a 60% reduction so far this year. 5 offences in April compared with 13 at this time last year. Main areas that have been targeted have been Rookery Road area and Oxhill Road, and that's been our pattern in March and April. We have some targeted patrols in place that are going to be there for the long term, where you should see at least 3 or 4 dedicated patrols in that particular area over the next 6 to 12 months. We've seen a mixture of unlocked vehicles, so where vehicles have been left insecure, and windows smashed to steal items. And the key thing here is that items that have been stolen that are left on display. So I think our advice is don't leave those items on display. Clear your car out, keep it nice and tidy, and lock your car and double check it. Don't just click it, check it as well. I think most people have got central locking on the cars these days, activated by a key fob. Click it and check it as well, I think. In terms of antisocial behaviour and calls for service around that, so far this month we've had 33 calls regarding antisocial behaviour, which is 2 less than this time last year. I've touched on one of our main issues around Avenue Road already and what we're doing about that particular problem. But really, it's just to reassure the community and the public around Handsworth that in the areas where we have long-term demand around antisocial behaviour, we've got targeted patrols in place, and they're going to be in place for the long term now, not just the short term, not just a short-term fix. Okay. And it's probably important as well, it's just as important to talk about total recorded crime. So that's absolutely everything that we are informed about and then we record as a crime. We've had a 21% reduction so far this year in recorded crime, 52 offences compared with 66 this time last year. So it's really a generally healthy picture across all crime types. However, the risk and threat remains around antisocial behaviour and public place violence, with warmer nights, lighter nights coming along, more people likely to be drinking in pub beer gardens, for instance, or having or getting together in a public place. So if you do see any antisocial behaviour, or you do see anything that concerns you, please pick up the phone and report it on either 999 or 101 if it's a non-emergency. That's it for the police part of the update at the moment. I'll pass you on to David, who will talk about the fire service.
Okay, welcome to Handsworth Fire Station. As a fire service, we're really pleased to be able to host this and continue hosting this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an update on the incidents that we've attended over this reporting period, which is since the 1st of April, the last 20 days. Over the last 20 days, we've attended 60 incidents, and these break down into fires. Of these, 12 were property fires, and 9 were what we call secondary fires. These are rubbish fires and fires in the open. We've attended 9 road traffic collisions and 4 other special service calls, which included a young child being locked in a property. We were able to to effect an entry to reunite the mother and child. The remaining incidents are made up of false alarm calls, some of them due to equipment and some of them false alarm malicious calls, which obviously we don't like, but and that's something that we are working to drive down. And the rest were standbys where we go into other areas to support other crews. We have delivered fire safety checks and survival information and fitted smoke detectors for 37 residents and properties within the Handsworth area. This is a number that we want to grow. Us going into properties and providing this information, fitting smoke detectors, really can and will save lives. Through our community fire safety centre here at Handsworth, we've also delivered fire safety education packages for 92 children of school age from the Handsworth area. So educating them young into the dangers of fire and taking that information back into their homes is, we consider, very important. We continue to urge people to ensure that they have a working smoke detector in their homes. They should be checked monthly, make sure that they are working, make sure that in your homes you have a fire action plan. And to remind you that we do provide a free service for fire safety and survival information through our home fire safety check service. It's a free service, and if you give us a ring on 0800 389 5525, I think Ahmed's going to flash that up on the screen in a second. You can book a free safety check where we'll come into your home, our local firefighter will come into your home and provide you that key information. Thanks, Ahmed.
Thanks very much. Cheers, David. Right, it really is now over to our audience, both online and the two members of the public. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. To ask questions or make any comments about the service that you're getting from the local police, issues that you might be experiencing. And if you're watching online, remember that you can get involved tonight using the hashtag AskHWW. It's on the screen via Twitter to ask a question or make a comment. So please do get involved. And Ahmed, let me know if we have any online questions, please. Over to you guys, really.
So we're both parents from the same school,
Okay.
and we're concerned about the parking outside school. And I know plenty of other parents who would have come tonight if they weren't busy. It's basically throughout Handsworth, particularly Handsworth Wood girls. I was forced to walk on the road with my daughter the other day. I've got a toddler who, and then St Mary's School, there's a driveway, part of which is private, part of which is public road, and it's just the law of the jungle, would you say? It's just disgraceful, and it's the parents who are doing the right things who are going to have their children into trouble, not the ones, who are driving. And it's, yeah.
I think one of the main issues is the parents who are trying to do the right thing park away from the school and then walk up to the school. And the problems are with children then crossing the road. There has been an incident before when the lollipop lady was nearly hit as she was trying to get a child across the road, and the child was actually touched by the car. It wasn't severely injured, but it was something that highlighted it was a serious issue for me, because before that I was encouraging my son to walk to school. Yeah. He's coming to the end of primary now and going on to secondary. And since then, I want to allow him to walk down the road, because the actual danger spot is actually nearest to the school. So it's actually crossing the road and the approach up to the school. You'll see parents, because it's quite a tight road, they'll drive up and then reverse back down, rather than try and turn around or common sense would be to park beyond the school and then walk up. They also park so tightly that the children can't see. And it's got metal railings down the side. And they've been hit that many times, they're all mangled. And you think they cannot see the children at the height of some of the vehicles.
Okay, I think thank you for raising that really, really important issue to both the police and the fire service in terms of road safety and looking after our kids and doing the right thing. You mentioned Handsworth Wood Girls' School. Just very quickly for our online audience, and you may or may not have been able to pick up the question from the two ladies that have joined us this evening. But the issue was raised around schools parking, and this isn't something that's isolated to one particular school. Handsworth Wood Girls' School was mentioned, as well as St Mary's School. But Look, I've been the sergeant for Handsworth Wood now for a couple of months after joining you guys from the south of Birmingham, and it's one of the things that I've noticed, not just around schools actually, but parking generally seems to be pretty poor standard right across the ward in busy areas. Who are the offending vehicles? You mentioned that there were parents that were doing the right thing, and it was more likely that it'd be their parents or their kids that would be put at risk, which I agree with. Is it parents mainly?
In a mention to the head teacher that I was coming to this meeting, and she's very supportive of us coming, and she said that there was a campaign possibly 2 or 3 years ago with 2 PCSOs being sent down, and all they got was bad language and abuse from the parents. It's the same cohort of parents. The other people, the lollipop lady doesn't really, I think she's a massive danger because people park the other side of her patrol. There's actually 2 bollards that the school kindly put in one side, the school side, but the other side, they're just parking. So you just got to dodge the cars and they're driving off the pavement.
You regularly see as well parents who push chairs, prams, having to go onto the road because if they're parked that tight, you can't actually get through.
Which obviously puts them at risk.
It's a very busy area.
Okay, I think just to reassure you guys, I've only been here, like I said, a matter of weeks really, but one of the things I'm really keen to do is for us to maximise our engagement opportunities with the public, and in particular around schools and young people. It's really, really important for us. So rather than briefing the team at 8 AM in the morning when we come on duty on an early shift or on late at 2 PM, what I've done now is my team are really supportive of this. Come in, we get our kit on and we go straight out and we go to as many schools as we possibly can, as many, with as many with the staff that I've got at hand. We do that on earlys and on lates now, so we brief a couple of hours later. That's only just starting to kick in. I know we've just had half term, so beginning of the summer term now for a couple of months. I think the Handsworth Wood Girls' School and St Mary's are 2 areas that we can certainly look at prioritising and making sure we've got staff there when we're on duty, which is 6 days out of 9. We work a shift pattern, as you'll appreciate. But I think as well that we can probably work with the fire service.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And Birmingham City Council. David, I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I think I'll have a word with my crews, and obviously it's a great opportunity for us to come down and engage with the public as well. We may be able to persuade people to have some home fire safety checks and do 2 things at once. So never want to miss an opportunity. We'll do that. But yeah, I'll have a word with the crews and we'll come down. Obviously, for me, one of the concerns with parking is if we are attending an emergency call, that parking can delay us. So it is a really, really important thing for us. So thank you for raising that. And it's something that myself and crews will take seriously, and we'll have a look at for you.
I suppose what I'm saying is that this is going to be schools parking and these visible patrols and trying to make your kids' lives safer when they're travelling to and from school is going to become part of our daily business and part of our day as your neighbourhood team, really. I'd like to have a chat very briefly afterwards, if that's all right, and take some details for you guys, and also possibly your head's details if you've got them. I'd be really, really keen to speak to him or her about this. That would be great. Thank you very much. Ahmed, I'm just going to come over to you. Are there any questions from our online audience tonight?
Oh, we have got a question previously from Rookery School.
Okay.
They were asking regarding Lovell Road. There's been a number of issues they've reported regarding males possibly taking drugs down the alleyway. Is there anything Handsworth Fire as well as the police can do in order to help them?
Can you kick off on that?
Obviously, this isn't our field of expertise. One of the things we can do is we can have a look at the area and see what we can do. Clearing rubbish away, obviously, because if it creates a fire risk, we can maybe put some pressure on the council to have a look at that. And then obviously to supporting yourselves.
Yeah, again, thank you to Rookery School for that question. Really good question. I've mentioned a couple of times now that we're putting long-term patrols in place in certain areas of demand, and Laurel Road just happens to be off Rookery Road, and it falls in pretty much in the middle of one of our long-term areas of demand around antisocial behaviour and crime. The good news is that area will be getting a lot more attention. The even better news is that during those patrols, or since those patrols kicked in, which is about 3 or 4 weeks ago now, we know who the main people responsible for taking drugs or drinking alcohol in that particular area are. In fact, some of those people have been dealt with previously for other issues at their home address, which isn't a million miles away. We're also working with Birmingham City Council. David and I met with our local councillors and representatives of Birmingham City Council's environmental team on Friday last week to talk about the future of community engagement across Handsworth. And really this live meeting is going to be sort of the kickstart the way we engage and try and reach a greater audience, so we get a broader view of the issues around Handsworth. We're already on the case with that. I think I will feed that back into my team, and we'll feed it back again to the local councillor and the environmental health. But there's an ongoing piece of work around that. So be reassured, we're looking at that, and we will make it a better place in the long term.
Hopefully people will see this this streaming that we're doing as an opportunity for you to have your say direct to us, and we can do something about it. That was one of the things that came out on Friday's meeting, particularly from the local authority. They were really keen on that, to actually hear from the community, where they could work more productively.
Have you guys got any other questions that you'd like to put to us, or any other comments to make? Great.
First question is, what do you actually class as antisocial behaviour?
Really good question. So that question was, for those who who may not have heard online, is what do we class as antisocial behaviour? Well, antisocial behaviour covers such a broad range of issues. It could be something that's really low level, for instance, or that's perceived as really low level by the wider community, like a group of kids, as per Avenue Road, congregating on the corner by the church. Now, for all intents and purposes, that may look fairly low level, and those kids might just be congregating because they've got nowhere else to congregate. However, it's the wider impact that can be felt. So, what is it that those group of kids are doing? Are they causing damage? Are they taking drugs? Are they being abusive to passers-by? And it can be right up to some of the things that have been quite widely advertised in the press over the last few years. And you only have to look at the Fiona Pilkington case around antisocial behaviour, their mother and daughter from Leicestershire, who sadly took their own lives because of prolonged, targeted, low-level criminal behaviour towards them and their house. It can be behaviour that's that causes people to feel harassed, alarmed or distressed, but it could be behaviour, like I said before, that people perceive as, it could be kids playing football in the street. May seem fairly harmless, but if there's a football pitch around the road, around the corner, or if there's somewhere more appropriate for them to go and play football, then that's what we should be encouraging them to do. Because if you're vulnerable through age or through whatever reason it might be, that may cause you to feel particularly stressed out about that situation, and it might make you feel that you don't want to leave your house, or you don't feel safe enough to leave your house. So whilst I can't quite remember, whilst we're talking live, the definition of antisocial behaviour off the top of my head, I think that probably gives you a flavour of the type of things that we get called about. Likewise with music and noise as well. We deal with an awful lot of calls around loud music from house parties, or it might be noisy vehicles, it might be vehicles that are being used in a particular manner with wheels being spun, or it could even be speeding vehicles as well.
That was going to be my next question, but the next question I have is, how does the police deal with, I'm noticing a lot of rubbish being dumped. I'm noticing a lot of properties at the moment are being purchased and then let out by landlords who I don't think then take care of the properties properly or appropriately. And so I'm noticing things such as fridges in particular, mattresses being dumped anywhere, and sometimes I think they're a danger to young children in particular. And they're also fire risk as well. The property I pass on the way down, and there's easily, I don't think I'm exaggerating to say, maybe 30, 40 bags of rubbish just been left there, and people are obviously going by and adding to it, And I'm thinking that's a potential for a fire, but it's also, it sort of brings down your neighbourhood a little bit, and then it's the start of antisocial behaviour if you're not careful, because people start to not see their area in the same way.
Yeah, thank you for that. For those people who didn't get the question was around, I probably describe it as fly tipping in the local area and people not disposing of their waste properly. It is a real concern for the fire service. You mentioned people renting houses and the landlords, when they're going in, maybe clearing out the house and everything, and they're actually using the front garden or the space in front of the house as a storage. Towards the end of last year, we had quite a severe fire in a property that was set light to some furniture that had been put out by a passer-by. If there had been somebody in the house, they wouldn't have been able to get out. Okay, so it's something we are taking very, very seriously. Again, we're talking to the council and local authority, and as we identify these areas, we are reporting them to the council and asking the council to get them clear. We are also trying to engage with the people as where we can, with the crews, are stopping, engaging with the people and asking them to dispose of the furniture and the waste responsibly.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this when we met with our neighbourhood tasking group on Friday last week, and there's quite a few areas now around Handsworth and Handsworth Wood where you're absolutely right, irresponsible, either tenants, house owners or landlords are dumping rubbish either at the backs of houses in communal alleyways or just leaving it out the front. And you're absolutely right, it does bring the area down, and people might, if they see that, think that it's acceptable to behave in a criminal manner or a manner that's going to be deemed as antisocial potentially. We have got some really, really good relationships with the environmental health team from Birmingham City Council, who are aware of a number of particular key locations. But is there any particular one location, or is there any particular one road that you're thinking of?
There's quite a few on the way down. I had a look as I was coming down because I knew I was going to raise this question. But there was a house that I spotted on the corner. I think it's an Engineer Road, Cockthorne Road. It's the first house as you go around the corner, so I'm not quite sure what road it's on. And there's easily 30, maybe more. I mean, it's getting high, really high. And also, people are starting to dump fridges and things there as well, which is again, dangerous. And I think somebody's even started dumping that garden waste, just throwing it into the garden. And it's a potential fire risk. It's also very near to an electricity substation as well, which is actually going off the back of the property. So that was something that I think was quite dangerous, antisocial. Again, it's warmer weather, so you could, I don't know what's in the back, so it could be breeding rats and all sorts.
No, you're spot on, and I think I'll have a chat with you afterwards around your route down here tonight, and I'll be interested to try and find those locations so we can pass this information on to the environmental health team from Birmingham City Council. My plan for these meetings as we build them and as we move forward is that you won't just see me and David sitting at the front on your screens if you're you're at home or wherever you might be, or in the audience here with us. There will be your local councillor. Paulette Hamilton offered to come along tonight, but we're in the middle of PERDA, run up to the general election, etc. And local elections at the same time. So from May, there will be 3 of us sitting at the front, and there will normally always be, if not always, be a representative from Birmingham City Council. Now that could be our environmental officer as well, who I know would have no problems in sitting here and answering your questions directly. But I suppose in a nutshell, we've all got a responsibility for the area, how it looks, how it feels. But Birmingham City Council Environmental Health do lead on fly tipping and waste management. So these issues we will pass on to them. But certainly the police and also the fire, where we see it, we will support Birmingham City Council in terms of any prosecutions or any enforcement action around people who are responsible for that. Does that answer that question? Perfect. Have you guys got any more questions for us? Ahmed, are there any questions from our online audience that have come in whilst we've been talking?
I've got another previous question relating to Neighbourhood Watch. What can the police do in order to help, or what do the public need to do in order to set up a Neighbourhood Watch?
Okay, really good question. Neighbourhood Watch is something that we're really keen on Birmingham West and Central as a local policing unit to encourage and to build on. There's some really mixed evidence if you look at the research on Neighbourhood Watch. I'm about halfway through reading a bit of a Campbell Collaboration review. Campbell Collaboration is a think tank that will pick all of the research in any particular given field and summarise it for us. They're quite easy to read, so if anyone's interested, you can go onto the Campbell Collaboration website and have a look for yourself. And where it's done really, really well, there's some promising evidence that shows that it can have a real effect in reducing crime and disorder. We are only as good, and this is the fire service included in this in the council, we're only as good as the engagement and cooperation we get from members of the public. So in terms of Neighbourhood Watch, if you are out there and you're interested in getting involved, just contact us. You can do that in a number of ways. You can phone us on 101 and ask to speak to your local neighbourhood team or your partnerships officer. You can email us, and our email address is available if you type in, if you go onto the West Midlands Police website and navigate your way to local police and Handsworth. Our email address is on there. It's on our Twitter page as well. Or you can send us a message even on Twitter if you need to, and ask us how to get involved, and we'll make contact with you. We'll come and visit you and we'll get you signed up. It's really, really, really easy. This is something that we're going to look at building over the course of the next 12 months. I'd like to see a Neighbourhood Watch scheme running on every street across Handsworth, and that might be aiming too high, but you've got to do that sometimes, haven't you, to build on an already really good base. Just touching on Neighbourhood Watch, when we met last week with our neighbourhood tasking group, we did a bit of a ball blast around what representatives we had at that particular group, because we want to make sure that we engage, as I said earlier, with the wider Handsworth and Handsworth Wood. It's the most diverse community in the whole of the West Midlands as a ward. At the moment, we've got 3 neighbourhood forums that are linked into our neighbourhood tasking. They are Cherry Orchard, Hampstead Hill and West Handsworth Neighbourhood Forum. And they're backed up by residents associations or neighbourhood watch schemes around Wilkes Green, Farcroft, West Handsworth Centre, Handsworth Wood Residents Association, Friends of Handsworth Wood, Horn, which stands for Hands-on Handsworth Residents Association. I'm not sure what the N stands for off the top of my head. Golden Age. And a Handsworth Wood youth group. They're about to be joined by College Road, who are a new residents association. But we would love to hear from the Sikh community. We would love to hear from the Eastern European community, who we don't have any representatives on at our neighbourhood tasking. The idea as we move into May will be to have a pre-meet with our key resident associations, neighbourhood watch forums, and anyone who wants to get involved, and then broadcast the meeting live and invite members of the public to come along as well. So that will be happening from May. But this is a great question. Neighbourhood Watch is something that we really, really, really want to grow. So if you are out there, please get in touch and get involved in your local neighbourhood. You can make a difference. Have we got any more questions online or from you guys that are here tonight? Okay, great. Ahmed, anything else?
I got a question from last week.
Okay.
Regarding TAP patrols. Can you explain what targeted area patrols are?
Okay, yeah. Okay, so targeted area patrols. I've mentioned this a few times tonight, haven't I? Around Rookery Road, particularly, and Laurel Road, Holyhead Road, Austin Road, where we have this issue around prostitution as well, and Avenue Road, where we're seeing a problem with antisocial behaviour that we're dealing with at the moment. These are areas where we've taken 2 years' worth of crime and calls for service. So they're calls from members of the public who have reported incidents to us. So over the course of 2 years, these are areas that have had a high demand in terms of crime and calls for service, as I said. We've mapped those on our internal mapping system, which is a briefing system that our neighbourhood cops right across Birmingham West and Central use. And we're using a theory and evidence based on really, really sound research that shows that if we target an area for 15 minutes at a time, every couple of hours, we will expect to see a significant reduction in crime and antisocial behaviour. So this was an experiment that was conducted on another area, in another area of Birmingham a couple of years ago. That evidence shows that the high and medium areas of demand reduced crime and antisocial behaviour by around about 40%, and that's an average across all of those areas that were patrolled, or given this targeted area patrols, as we're calling them. So I suppose in a nutshell, that's what it is. It's happening 7 days a week. So for Handsworth, Perry Bar and Oscott, and Lascelles and East Handsworth neighbourhood teams who cover the constituency of Perry Bar, we are all patrolling each other's long-term hotspots, or harm spots, or whatever you want to call them. So these tactical area patrols have been covered 7 days a week, which is really, really good news. So we'll report back on that as we go through the course of this year and tell you how they're progressing. I don't think I've explained that really very well, but thank you for asking the question. Right, unless there's any other questions, I'd probably like to talk about the date of our next meeting. The date, we're waiting for a couple of our key community contacts to get back in touch with us, but it's going to be towards the end of May. It will be held here at Handsworth Fire Station. It will also be streamed online, so you can catch us online. But I'd like to encourage as many people as possible to come and join us in person as well. You can't replace that. So, ladies, thank you both for coming tonight. And unless there's anything else, I'll bring this meeting to an end.
Thanks very much.
Happy, brilliant. Thank you. See you next time.